So how does somebody, what are the first steps for someone to get started in this? I wanted to say one more thing actually before you answer that question. Something that I fairly recently found out was that you can always buy, like no matter how many loans you have, you can always buy another primary. So like even if I have 35 loans, like I can go to my bankers. Now I don't know I know FHA and maybe has some different rules, but I can always go in and buy another primary. So I'm assuming it's the same. Maybe it's not, but I thought that was an interesting thing that I just found out.
Yeah, no, that's 100% right. That's the 11 in the Fannie Mae. It's technically 10 plus your primary.
Got it. So what are the first steps for someone to start in this process, man? If they've listened to us this far, they buy into this idea, they get it. This is a really cool, unique strategy, especially for someone starting off. They can marry some of these like high cash flowing things with what you're doing, whether that's the hacking or the co-living or whatever. And then I think it's just like pouring gas on this fire and it just can go. How does someone start?
Well, building the team is the most important thing. So, a little bit real quick with when I did it. So I contacted the only lender I knew, which was a family friend, and he was all about it, but he was a fast talking New York guy. And he just was like, we're going to do it. Like, we're going to make it happen. And we just kind of went head first into it, not knowing that like him nor anybody in his company knew how to do one of these things. And the reality is a very niche product. So what you find a lot of is you have lenders out there that you have one or two things. You have lenders that are going to say, oh, you don't want to do that. It's too much of a pain in the ass. It's not too much of a pain in the ass. It is for them because they don't want to learn it and they don't understand it. So rather than they work on commission. So rather than them lose your business and you go somewhere else, they're just going to defer you from it and tell you to do something. And then that's the harsh reality of it. And that's the onus that I have on myself on making sure that this becomes way more of a household name and more accepted in the world. So that's the first thing that they'll do. Or the second thing that'll happen is, they'll because they're commission based, they'll say, hey, yeah, we could do it for you, but they really don't specialize in them. And I always make the analogy, like say you have a Porsche, right? You take great care of your Porsche. You really want it. You have to get an oil change. Nothing's open except this one place that only works on Hondas. Could the Honda place change the oil on the Porsche? Probably. Do you think it's going to be the best job? Probably not. Right. So the idea is there's lenders out there that specialize in this thing that do these cold. There's a couple different ways to find them. There's, you can just Google 203K endorsement summary and look up gives a list of how to find lenders that are doing them in your market. But that's not always the fairest list, especially because Fannie Mae has come into the equation and Fannie Mae doesn't release a list like that. So just because they're not on that list doesn't mean they don't do a lot of reno. Because I've been very fortunate to build such a huge network, I know all the best lenders in the country now. So if you are interested in this, just start with getting set up with a lender. You go to the 203kway.com/lender. A couple quick questions about where you live, whatever, that will shoot someone over to you that serves your market and completely specializes in these types of loans. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's the best way to start. Once you have that, a good lender is going to help you kind of quarterback the process, right? Now, at the end of the day, like it's going to come down to your goals and what you're looking to do and everything like that. Really, what I specialize in is helping people, look at it through the eyes of an investor, right? So there's like the whole process of like, how you find, like we said in the beginning of this, right? Like, how do you find the deals that are perfect to really leverage this to the hilts, right? Like, how do we use this to create 6+ figures of equity, create passive cash flow, $1,000+ a month? Like, what do we look for? What are the things? And that's the whole deal finding process of it. But basically what you do is once you have the loan, you look at it through the eyes of an investor with just a really, really favorable financing option where the bank's covering the purchase and the renovation, and then just run the numbers that way. But once you have the loan, once you know what you're pre-approved for the max amount, another cool thing is like, just because you're maybe a lower income earner, you feel like you're not making enough on your own. One of the coolest things about these Fannie Mae and these FHA loans on buying a multifamily, and now even with ADUs entering the game or accessory units, now, like if there's some other living space that's like, legal, like it doesn't even have to be legal, believe it or not. As long as it's just like a common and customary like living unit in the property, they can forecast 75% of that estimated income to your debt to income ratio. So that's really what allowed me, actually, I couldn't afford crap in New York and I had a decent salary, but I still on my own, I couldn't do it. when they forecasted that future rental income of the other unit, it got me to get approved for way more. So when you go to your lender, and these lenders will know exactly what you're talking about, like you get a conditional pre-approval for if I was to buy a duplex or a quadplex or something like that. And that's going to increase your buying power significantly. On average, for every $1,500 you get in rent, in your market, for every 1,500, it's on average going to give you another 100 grand in buying power. So that's a huge uptick and gives you the ability to, kind of fight out of your weight class and leverage yourself even more.